Ding dong, you're dead. And this is Slasher's Podcast, a podcast about movies and more for those who love horror. My name is Jake, and with me for the first time ever are my friends, the Movie Dumpster Podcast, Joe, Sean, and Connor. Introduce yourselves and say your names so that you can imprint on our impressionable listeners so they know who's talking and when.
Hello, my name is Joseph Lascola, and that's probably not how I'm going to be talking throughout the rest of this podcast.
I'm Connor. Oh, go ahead, Sean.
I'm Sean O'Rourke.
I'm Connor. And Joe, was that your phone voice or your FM radio host? I can't tell.
That was my voiceover voice.
Did you guys read that? I think Movie Phone is down to one employee.
Yeah, it's fucking Kramer.
Hell yeah. Fucking love that idea.
I didn't know Movie Phone was still a thing.
Yeah, neither did I. I saw an article and I was like, it was one of those things where I didn't even realize that they existed, much like yourself. So I guess in the backlog of my brain, I would assume that they had none employees. And to find out it was one, I was like, that seems drastically understaffed for a thing I don't know about.
You want to hear something even weirder and far more shocking? The Heaven's Gate website is still up. And there's people still operating it, looking for members.
I go on it all the time. You fucking love it.
It is very clearly a website from 20 fucking years ago. It has not changed one iota.
The shitty GIFs that like move around, and there's the bright rainbow logo with the beaming down. Oh, it's so delightful.
Yeah, it's like these two guys were left behind, quote unquote, to keep the thing going. And it's like, how stupid do you feel?
Dude, I've certainly fallen out of a lot of true crime stuff after becoming a dad, but I love Heaven's Gate. Like the idea that you would call your friends like, let's go Joe Odie, Sean Odie, Connor Odie, Movie Dumpster Podcaster Odie, and then cut your own balls off. It's pretty amazing to me.
And then buy a bunch of Nikes and die in them.
Isn't it great?
Oh my God.
I made a meme about that because in the movie Ghost World, Thora Birch says, if he's so crazy, how come he's wearing Nikes? And so I put, it's pretty sweet. Not to toot my own horn, but I was like, this is going to be very funny to the people who understand it. But the fact is that it will never get the metadata to be as popular as it deserves to be. So, gentlemen,
dark joke, and I appreciate it.
What movie are we doing this week?
Well, this is part of our double feature with you guys. So today we're doing House, and then we're going to be doing House 2.
The second story.
Yeah.
On your show.
Yes.
Now, quick thing. How does House from 1977 relate to House the Second Story? Because obviously we're reviewing the Nobuhiko Obayashi film tonight, right? Nobody? Okay.
No, you just scared the piss out of me for a second.
I really loved the apprehension. I was like, yes, it worked. I told my wife I was going to do that, and she was like, that's fucking stupid. And I was like, it's going to be funny.
Here's why it's kind of funny, because I've been hit in the head too many times. My memory is shit. So there's a chance somebody could have said, like, you were watching House and I would like, sure, House.
That's the one with the cat painting, right?
Exactly.
No, Connor, it's not.
So you guys have 81 butt-fucking episodes, which are rad. I have to say, I kind of wish that I had done what you did and just made it a whatever movie podcast, because your range goes from Rawhead Rex, Home Alone 4, Taking Back the House, Equilibrium, which I refer to as Ray Bradbury's The Matrix, Dungeons and Dragons, and here's a very important one. I recently regaled our audience with an anecdote wherein I went to Warehouse Movies and I was like, I'd like to buy a copy of The Guyver, buttfucker. And he said, MacGyver, and I never trusted anybody in a store ever again. And you reviewed MacGyver 2, which proves it's real.
I just heard this story when I listened to you guys today.
Yeah.
I was so vindicated to see it. I was like, yes.
He was like, you mean MacGyver? And trust me, I've had the same experience with people where they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean Mark Hamill turns into a cockroach?
It's awesome, right? It's crazy.
Oh, man. I hope that guy's listening to this like, oh, motherfucker. I guess he's right. They do exist.
So good. And so I'd like to point out, usually I'm a very competitive guy, but I've listened to almost every one of our overlapping episodes. So I will peddle you guys shamelessly because we've overlapped and both done episodes on Bad Taste, 13th Warrior, Demonic Toys, Santa's Sleigh, and Valentine. So if you didn't get enough from slashers, go on over to Movie Dumpster, listen to those, and then come back to us, rate us, review us, subscribe. And then if you have time left over, you haven't gotten carpal tunnel syndrome from doing that on your phone, then go over to help those guys, right? That's a good... We're good with that?
Yeah, I'm sure they're both varying opinions as well.
Oh, yeah.
You can get 2 cell phones and, do one on each hand.
You sure can. Well, you got all the fucking time in the world now, don't you?
Seriously. And if you imagine how productive people who are ambidextrous are, because they don't have to have one hand driving the wheel and then doing the other. They're just like, oh. So real quick, I wanted to highlight something about this franchise. I think it's really weird that we go House 2, The Second Story, which is architecture, humor, and probably my favorite title for a sequel ever. Then in sequence, we technically go to House 4, Repossession. Funny. Give it that, funny. But House 3 Horror Show is not really House 3 at all. And it's virtually completely disregarded. So if you do Google us and you like the content and you want to go find the episodes and the movies, just be aware, because I remember going through that years ago and be like, what?
We tried to remedy that with a few other things too. Like specifically, we put Aberration 1998. Right? Because there's another film called Aberration, so not to be confused with. But yeah, the horror show is technically House 3.
Right? Little
and it's really fucking good. We got Lance Henriksen in that.
Oh, yeah.
And Brian James. That's a great flick, dude.
Will Henriksen show up for anything if you just like dangle a $5 bill in front of his face?
He's very, when I met him, because I had just met him at Monster Mania, this past one, he was just super fucking cool and down to do like whatever, as maybe if the money was there or if he felt like it, you know what I mean?
Dog, question mark?
Hey man, down to clown.
Yeah.
I was like, because after his Pumpkinhead 3 and 4 appearances, he was like, I was so ashamed of those movies that I escaped a Q&A by curling on the floor, my hands and knees out the side door.
He's a genuinely awesome dude. And, everybody eats some shit sometimes, I guess, right?
But Michael Caine, when he ate shit with the Jaws sequel, was like, yeah, you know what? I ate so much shit that I bought a fucking house with it. Fuck off. And I was like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I love so many movie podcasts or just people like shitting all over stuff. And I'm like, first of all, come on. If you're recording something in your garage and you're like, oh, please listen to me, like, rate, and subscribe, you clearly want attention. So these people get international attention and get paid, unlike 99% of movie podcasts. So like,
oh yeah,
in real practice, if somebody was like, hey, you want to be in Ghost Shark 7? You'd be like, please, I would love to. Thank you, sir.
I mean, there's money in it? Sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'll be in your
paper
ninth
currency
Sharknado movie.
It doesn't even have to be backed by the federal gold standard. I'll just take fake money.
Shit, I'll take a fucking taco. I'll go right in there.
Yes.
I wonder what the exchange rate is on tacos.
Yeah. I don't know. Are they Doritos Locos or is it like Crunchwrap Supreme? Does that count?
What about that chalupa thing where it's 3 chalupas and one long human centipede? What the fuck is that?
Sign me the fuck up for that, man. I want that triple chalupa in my mouth.
Dude, I am very concerned about a lot of people's well-being with that. That is a reckless device.
What was that? It can't be any worse than what the fuck was it? Wasn't it like
KFC one?
Yeah, the KFC one.
The heart
like
attack?
2 donuts and a piece of chicken or some shit.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the chicken sandwich where the bread is also chicken.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
at that
nasty.
point, just take 3 chicken patties and bite them. Like, what are you doing?
Seriously, or you can just go to your local grocery store, get lard, shove it in your mouth. Same thing.
That might actually be one of the things you can find, lard. I don't think that's selling out.
Yeah, I can tell you, it came to mind because my wife was like, "Oh, pick up yeast," and I was like, "You mean the thing we've never used in our house?" And she's like, "Well, suddenly it's very important that you get us yeast," and I was like, "Okay." And on my 4th store, I saw a tower of lard. No
Really?
yeast.
I've
Trying to
never
get rid
seen
of
a
it.
store selling lard.
No, I've never seen it for sale. But you know what? They make those Grandma Utz's potato chips, kettle cooked in lard. Man, those are my favorite chips. They come in that fucking like craft paper bag.
Right on. Could you end up
good.
seeing through the bag because of all the lard?
No, but I end up fucking passing out.
That's because your
After
heart is
eating a
giving up.
giant
It's just
bag
like,
of 'em.
please stop. It's not beating anymore. It's just tapping out.
Oh yeah, they're so delicious.
So shall I get into the statistics for this film?
Stabtistics. I love that. Go ahead.
Made on a budget of $3 million, it yielded $22.1 million. A fancy little payday, wouldn't you say?
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it.
Why?
I think he said he ain't mad at it.
I ain't mad.
Oh.
I'm very upset with this information.
I was like,
How
no.
dare this movie not make more money?
How dare this humble
yeah.
film makes 6 times
Honestly.
its budget back?
I mean, and this is
they crushed
basically
it.
Fred Decker's biggest success. And that breaks my heart to say because he directed Monster Squad, which is my favorite film of all time.
Do you think it's his biggest success?
Financially.
Why do you think?
Just-
Financially, I guess. Yeah. I
Yeah.
wonder how much. I wonder how much he took home for that though, because he didn't even end up writing the screenplay.
Correct. Well, his draft of the screenplay was just a horror film, and then it was later adapted, and they added the comedic elements, which is really odd. I kept reading that everywhere, but like every other thing that he does, like Night of the Creeps, all has horror. But in terms of just like I only mean budget. Like Monster Squad budget $12 million yields less than $4 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, just to have your name attached to anything on IMDb that's that much better than the rest of your work. One of my all-time favorite quotes comes from him where he says, "Nobody sets out to make a cult classic."
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that.
I mean, like the modern B movie movement seems to think that you can, and that's one of like our like collectively biggest problems with movies like that is that when you intentionally take the step to make what should be like a cult movie years later, you're ruining the sincerity of it, and it's not going to be as entertaining.
100%.
This is one of those flicks where like. Again, it's one of those 80s flicks that really was made with a lot of love, and a lot of great people are involved in this flick. And then like nowadays, people are literally just trying to just churn shit out for a buck. And it's like, how is that like self-satisfying, but like how much money could you possibly be? I mean, we talk about this all the time. Like how much money could you possibly be getting from this unless you already had money to start with, right?
Yeah. I mean, that adds that whole credence to a lot of people get really conspiracy theory, like, oh, it's all tax evasion or whatever. And like, I don't know, the stuff that ends up on streaming, I'm like, everybody's got to be losing here. So this has to be a calculated loss.
Right, I guess so. You know what? I haven't thought about it that way. Like they're making a shitty movie to fucking write off some money because they're laundering it.
Yep.
Well, I mean, we joke, but like I think there's evidence that Uwe Boll was doing that for a long time.
Yes.
That's how he did finance all of his fucking movies, because he had these tax shelters, and like he skirted German like financial laws and stuff like that, and found loopholes and just made money hand over fist before these movies were even made.
I feel really naive not like seeing that, because I'm always like, yeah, man, when you want to make a movie, like you really want to make it, right? Like you're like really into it because it's so much fucking work to do.
Oh, he's like, I want to make 17 Blood Rain movies because I can lose all of the money and still end up on top.
He said it himself. He says he can afford to play golf until he's dead. And now he has a restaurant. And now he has a restaurant in Canada that's apparently really good.
Oh, nice. Now, the way I would describe this film, tell me if you guys agree, it's kind of In the Mouth of Madness meets Once Bitten. What I mean by that is like, there's a lot of really good character effects and shit. And then it's also got this weird, I don't know what vibe you're going for in the rest of it and tone. But then it has this cute little ending and it's like, goodbye.
Yeah, it fucks right off at that ending scene.
That needs to be a dream sequence where at the end of it, you're like, oh, everything's fucked and he's in a worse position in like an insane asylum. But it's like, nope, we're all just happy.
I found my boy. Where?
Left and like the top is still spinning.
Yes, exactly.
We had mentioned it before. Like when Fred originally conceived this, it was like a Twilight Zone kind of episode where he like went hard in on like Vietnam War stuff. Right. And then when Ethan Wiley got a hold of it and wrote the screenplay, he like added all that comedy stuff, but that's what got the film made, right?
Weird, right?
So Steve Miner like read that script and was like, this is fucking great, let's do it.
And what's really interesting, so to your point, it's after he sees the Twilight Zone anthology film and he wants to do this movie as a part of an anthology of a bunch of stuff. So really it makes sense how it was so bare bones, but it's like, it's such a generic story in so many ways where you're like, why do you have to give story credit for that at all? It's just like, oh, a writer who's sad in a house. I'm like, that's everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, the crux of the story, I feel like, is that Vietnam, like dealing with the PTSD, and then the wackiness like overlaid on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a very tense juxtaposition, and I think it's because you basically dismiss it with the happy ending. Like all I did, like I pulled my headphones out of my ears after I finished watching this movie again. I kind of lowered my head and I was like, not one person's gonna ask how the fuck that kid didn't age. Like they're just gonna be like, oh, he's got Gary Coleman disease, whatever, fuck off. But like
that was my thing. It's like it has a happy ending with a little bow on it, but like I can imagine that dad going like, let's go home. The cops there's like, no, you're not. You have so many questions to answer. You're sitting right here.
He's like,
oh, he's going to jail, dude, for sure.
It's like all the kids that came back after Thanos' snap, and they're like, oh, what? I'm 5 years old still.
Yeah.
I think it's that thing where it's like, okay, well, it's like the pocket dimension, right? Because there's like multiple doorways to different dimensions within the house, because it's very quote unquote thin, I would assume.
Yeah.
And what I mean by thin is like, you know, the veil between worlds is thin.
Right. Oh yeah.
Well, there is that like classic episode of the Twilight Zone that kind of I feel like this movie riffs off of a little bit, where there's like that portal in the wall that the little girl gets trapped in.
Yes. Oh man, that's a great episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he calls his buddy over and his buddy's like, yeah, so there's a parallel dimension right in this part of the wall right next to your bed. And your daughter, I don't know, backflipped out of a fucking bed and went right into the wall.
I told her not to jump in that goddamn thing. That's what
I don't know what happened.
I do like this house. The titular house kind of feels like a crossroads for several different horrific alternate realities that just kind of keep bleeding in and out.
The Mills View Estate.
Yeah. Yes. House CM is gorgeous.
Yes, it is. My God. Why didn't he furnish that thing? Well, because he was writing and losing his mind, probably.
It was already furnished. I would leave it just the way it was. Anne Elizabeth was amazingly macabre, and I appreciate that.
Seriously. We can all agree. Like, in the bedrooms, there has to be some, like, fist fucking in those weird pictures, right? That she's painting.
Oh, dude. To come back to your In the Mouth of Madness reference, she's the fucking lady from Happy Gilmore with her husband on the ground.
Right?
Yeah.
With the tentacles. Where did the tentacles come from?
With the husband in the basement tied up.
The sadomasochist fucking like leather chains and shit.
As soon as I said, where did the tentacles come from? I felt like an Asian girl in an anime from the 80s. Yes. Jake made an anime reference. Take that, Brian.
The tentacles actually, like the first one came out, I was like, is he being attacked by xenomorphs? Look at that tail.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it does look like that.
So,
well, she plays this part the little bit she's in. And she's in what, like maybe 3 scenes in the whole movie.
Maybe.
Like she's got like, it's kind of weird because she does it at the same time, if this makes sense. Like she's very heartwarming or heartfelt, but also like that smile she does in the one flashback is really creepy.
Eerie, right?
Dude,
yeah.
She's fucking batshit, dude. Like when their kid disappears, she's just like, oh, that's a hell of a thing.
Yeah, right.
Hell of a storm.
She's like, I told you, bitch. That's basically her attitude.
Yeah.
It was the house. Sure was. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. So the competition for this film, it came out February 28th, 1986. 2 weeks before you'd had Terror Vision. The week before you had The Hitcher. And then the week this film came out, the only film that beat it was Pretty in Pink. So that's a pretty big accomplishment, I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, you're going up against John Hughes, dude. Like,
right?
You're going down.
In the weeks that followed, the only other horror films that came out were Nomads, April Fool's Day, and Critters. So, I mean, really, in terms of your competition for this style of horror film, April Fool's Day is kind of your best competition. And I'll be honest, like this movie, in my opinion, way better than April Fool's Day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd agree with that.
I know I've seen April Fool's Day, but it was also like when I was younger and I just grabbed all the holiday themed slashers from the local video store that I could. So it's just in there in my memories, like among like Mother's Day, Happy Birthday to Me, and like all that other stuff.
Super generic. It's like we just did an episode on it for the April Fool's Day month thing that we did. And I got to tell you, I was like, all right, this is fine. But like, I think that I kind of did myself a disservice because like my favorite holiday themed horror film is My Bloody Valentine, the original.
Oh, yeah.
And we had just done that. And I was like, this is what it should be. This is what Canadian underground horror should be, motherfucker. And then I see this thing and I'm like, fine.
Yeah.
Critters is better than April Fool's Day.
100%.
Easy. Yeah.
There's a reason why it spawned a franchise that would just never die, even with that stupid series they released on Shudder. God damn it.
Did you see the new film, Critters Attack?
Nope, because I saw the shorts and I gave up.
Oh, my goodness.
Is it that bad?
Like, it's terrible. And I thought 3 was bad. Like, I'll watch 3 any day of the week compared to that fucking film.
Ouch.
Like, Dee Wallace comes back and she's a fucking bounty hunter or whatever. Fucking pass, dude. Like, no thank you.
Only time I want to see Dee Wallace come back is to shoot another St. Bernard. Am I right?
That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
So the runtime of this film, 93 minutes. Do we love it? Is it easy breezy, beautiful cover girl?
Yes. I looked down like at the runtime when it was halfway through and felt like I just started it, but didn't feel like it rushed.
Yeah.
It's very brisk and it's snappy, I think is the word I used.
It's comfy.
You could edit it a little tighter, but I don't think that you have to lose any of the substance. I think that everything is really well done. And I even like the meddling neighbor stuff. Usually that stuff gets really tired really fast, but also it's fucking Norm from Cheers. So of course I'm going to like it.
He's great.
His introductory scene is also so funny. I couldn't wait for him to come back around. When he walks up to me, he's like, "Yeah, she died. Terrible lady. Awful. Heart full of piss. I'm sure someone murdered her." He's like, "She's my aunt. Heart of gold. Love her. Had her over for dinner once. She was fantastic."
And then he acts like he doesn't know who he is, but has this tattered ass copy of his book that he's been carrying around with him at all times.
Yeah.
That he just keeps in his back pocket just in case he ever runs into the fucking writer.
Like, you have those fans on Instagram and shit who like reach out to you and try and be like totally nonchalant. Like, I've had people be like, "Oh yeah, here's this one thing that you like referenced, I don't know, episode 7, 24 and a half minutes in. No big deal or whatever, but this is exactly what you're talking about." I'm like, you could just like be a fan. Like, it's fine.
Oh,
well,
yeah,
I think
totally.
they're making fun of that a lot in this movie too, kind of like that, because he's almost like a Stephen King-esque character. The main character in this film,
For sure.
Yeah, he's a horror writer. Yeah.
Which is where most of my In the Mouth of Madness reference kind of comes from. That and the creature effects. But I mean, just the idea of like the sensational, that little vignette that they do, like, it's so perfect when they're doing the book sighting, because that could be belabored so butt fucking much. But instead they're like, it's quick, it's brisk, it's over. And you get background information on the character because you find out he's divorced, and it's just snappy.
Mm-hmm. Who's that? Frau in line?
Yeah.
Mindy Sterling.
Awesome.
She's like, "Oh, I love your wife. She's on that fucking soap opera I love so much." And he's
Never
like, "Yeah,
miss
we're
an
divorced."
episode. So directed by Steve Miner, who famously Friday the 13th parts 2 and 3.
Mhm.
Here's where we get a little bit questionable. Now, he was a second unit director for Night of the Creeps, so we have to give him a little bit of an extra credit, but then we have to take that credit away, and then we just burn this man's effigy, as he is responsible for Soul Man from 1986. You might remember where the guy does blackface by taking tanning pills to get a black scholarship to Harvard.
Oh.
Yeah, I always forget about that film, and then someone mentions it, and I'm like, okay.
That's a thing.
Yeah, I actually saw like a war of words recently because Spike Lee had like just trashed the movie when it came out, and the gal who played the love interest in the movie was like, he didn't even see the movie, he shouldn't be talking. And I was like, oh god, like I read Uncle Tom's Cabin, I don't know what I'm allowed to say, I'm too white, I hate that I'm reading this article, there shouldn't be comment sections, leave me alone.
Oh, yeah, that's no.
But then to go back in the positive, we have that he did the pilot episode for the Wonder Years, Warlock, kind of
love Warlock.
Halloween H2O, but then you have Lake Butt Fucking Placid. So there you go. I feel we've at least broken even when it comes to
you
him.
left one film out there.
Day of the
You
Dead.
sure did.
Well, there's that, but Big Bully.
Ah, yeah.
Which
1996.
also opens, well, maybe not opens, but basically opens with fucking Rick Moranis trying to sell a book with a very similar scene, except nobody wants to buy his book.
Yeah.
And they're just asking, like, where's the Stephen King aisle?
It also ends in horror. Like the end of the film is like shot like a horror.
Oh yeah, the end of Big Bully is like it's a
Cape
fucking
Fear.
Yeah, it's a Cape Fear chase sequence
in a cave.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Tom Arnold. People gave him a lot of shit, but I just recently rewatched True Lies, and he's delightful.
Yeah. No, he's great in that film.
And so we had referred to it earlier. The story, Fred Decker. The screenplay, Ethan Wiley, who, I mean, household name, right? Everyone. Yep. The director and writer of Elfman, starring Jason Weeman Acuna. Everyone. No one.
What in the hell did you just say to me?
Yeah. I did a deep dive because I was like, this guy's career is vapid. And then I was like, oh,
I hung out with Shane Black and Fred Decker, though. And I wrote House 1 and 2.
Yeah. And he also wrote music on the Jason X soundtrack, Jason Jam, and X is the loneliest number that you'll ever slash.
Dude, fucking pass.
All of this is painful.
I hate Jason X, by the way.
What?
I also don't like it.
Okay, holodeck scene. Tell me that's not gold.
Okay, yeah, redeeming factor.
There you go.
That's
if I
not
have
even. How could that redeem the whole goddamn movie?
No,
like
it's a redeeming
in a vacuum.
quality.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's fine that way. But I mean, if I had to stack it next to Leprechaun in Space and Hellraiser 4 all the way.
That's fair. I'll give it that.
Yeah, but definitely Leprechaun 4 is better than Jason X.
Well, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I'll have to agree. We did that on the show for a bonus episode, and I think that I'm one of very few people who would agree according to the analytics, but yeah, I think I'll agree.
I don't
Here's
know.
my
Man.
question: is that the one where they finally call him Lubden? Because we're still trying to figure that out over on Movie Dumpster.
No, I don't think
Dude.
it is. I think it comes after that.
See, we were trying to figure that out. All I know is that somebody
it's in the
pisses on
comics.
him and he goes into his dick.
Yes.
And then bursts out of this man's dick, and that's enough for me.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. He also has the lightsaber, which is great.
Yeah, a lightsaber shillelagh or some shit.
I need to see this fucking movie.
What the
You've never
fuck?
seen it?
I've only seen the first two,
He actually gets giant at one point.
and the one when he goes back in the hood. I've seen that one, the first one.
Oh, 4 is something else, dude.
Yeah, I've already expressed my disinterest in Leprechaun. So when he was going to space, I was like, yeah, no, I think I'm good forever on that one.
No, you're wrong. There's some great
Yeah,
stuff in that film.
definitely.
You're wrong. We'll move on because I don't want to insult you. Produced by Sean S. Cunningham, who's just like everything, right?
Yeah, that surprised me. I didn't, because I hadn't seen this movie until today. I'd seen bits and pieces of it on like Sci-Fi Channel all throughout my life, but never in one sitting. And saw his name pop up, and I was like, oh, look at that.
He's producing all over this thing. You know, he's the man responsible for fucking Friday 13th.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And then going to the music, you had Harry Manfredi, who is the or ki ma 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 if you want to be hyper technical, though it doesn't fucking sound like that. So whatever.
It doesn't.
His score in this is fan-fucking-tastic. I really like it. I love the cello stuff. And then he gets to dabble in like weird synthy shit.
Yeah.
Like it's all over the board here.
He also did music for the Anna Nicole Smith story. So, you know, he's legit.
Fucking dude's got to eat, man.
Yeah.
He supplied the music for the Friday the 13th game, too. I'm not sure if it was old recordings or if he did new stuff, but yeah, it's all over the place.
Hell
I
yeah.
think he's just getting the credit, dude.
I mean, yeah, but all of his music is present. It still helps the aesthetic.
For sure. So you guys, on our show, we do this nicknames thing, and we kind of bastardize it every time by giving the title of the segment nicknames a nickname, which has been prick name, dick name, big pen name. Do you have anything that you'd like to rhyme? Quick name. Haha, I put you on the spot.
Oh, you already beat me to the punch.
So we had William Catt as Roger Cobb. You'll remember he was the greatest American hero, and that's about it.
Yeah. That's the only other thing I ever fucking, on IMDb, when you look at his movies, that was the only other thing that stood out to me.
Well, here's a fun fact. He was in the movie House, and he was on the TV show House with Hugh Laurie.
Oh,
Don't you know?
blowing my mind.
That's awesome. He does have a face where it's like, I've seen you somewhere before, but I can't figure out exactly where.
He aged like molten shit on ice because
Oh, no.
literally I saw his profile picture on IMDb and I was like, who the fuck is that old honky and why was he in this movie? And I was like, oh my God, he starred in the movie. Oh no.
The only thing I know William Catt from besides House is House 4.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know what he kind of looks like? He kind of looks like Danny Elfman from a certain angle. Like,
I could see that. Like chiseled though.
put him in a fucking tank top and have him just sing about being in his fucking apartment.
I mean,
And
I would even argue that he's like Andrew Robinson's fucking like distant cousin.
He's half a ginger, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that V-neck sweater, am I right? Jesus Christ. Save some sex appeal for the rest of us, cocksucker, am I right?
What the fuck were they thinking with that?
That is the deepest V I've ever seen in my life.
Jesus
Who is
Christ.
he trying to impress with that sexy bod?
Me. God, I've got the klept over here. I'm sitting here masturbating.
My
His neighbor,
fiance came out
apparently.
and she just fucking burst out laughing. She's like, what the fuck is he wearing? It's like he forgot the rest of his fucking ensemble, dude.
He's wearing like all the stuff off the clearance rack at American Apparel before they got shut down.
Well, they show him throw all his fucking clothes in his suitcase like in a hurry. He probably forgot like all the essentials. He
It's
just
his
had,
wife's
like,
sweater.
the outfits, but like just parts of the outfit.
He like forgot the undershirt and the tie and the cummerbund.
yeah.
He just has this shitty sweater.
I mean,
Yeah,
maybe he just doesn't give a shit. He does spend most of his time in military fatigues.
Yeah,
from a
he
certain
remembers
point
the
forward.
military fatigues, but he forgets like a fucking undershirt.
Yeah.
But he leaves in a rush, right? You think that stuff was already at the house, TM?
It might have been.
Maybe.
It's his aunt's sweater.
Yeah.
That's
pulled it
the
off the
subplot
full
I
gag
want to
for.
explore where he's just going through her shit.
Oh, man. Trying on grandma's clothes or Aunt Elizabeth's clothes, rather.
And trying to like charge it up with like the static quantum energy to see her remote viewing or whatever the shit. Also, he did voices in Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series, and Batman the Brave and the Bold. So
Whoa, wait, who is he in Batman Brave and the Bold?
Oh, he's Hawkman.
That's a good show, by the way. Everybody who doesn't know what it is, it's fantastic. Arlie Ermy shows up as Catman at some point. Interesting.
But yeah, you have a lot of guys who are like, well, my face is too recognizable as this thing because, he's kind of a bit part actor by that point. And then you do voice acting. Just use your rigid, not acting voice.
I feel like a lot of these actors and actresses do a ton. Like when we go to look them up, they just got a ton of voice credits.
Yeah.
Which is, good for them. It's just strange.
And, not great. I mean, let's be honest. Like, when it comes to the DC animated stuff, it's like, we need you to sound like a cracker with a stick up your ass. Can you do that? And they're like, yes, I can. That's
up.
The character, right? So for a nickname for him, I was just going to call him the greatest American hero. I know it's super wordy, but like the only other movies I thought that he was in, he's Tommy and Carrie until he gets bucketed in the head. Oh, Buckethead.
That's right.
I'd like to call him Buckethead.
There you go.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
So then we have George Wendt as Harold Gorman. Can you call him anything but Norm? Is it physically possible?
It's fucking Norm, dude.
It's Norm.
He played Norm in 7 different shows. Cheers, St. Elsewhere, The Tortellis, The Simpsons, Wings, Frasier, and Family Guy. Wings with Tony
Wings.
Shalhoub.
Yeah, that's inescapable. It's like we do that with plenty of like characters that show up in the movies we watch for the MDU stuff. Like they are just the one character they played that one time.
Oh yeah, but especially George Wendt.
Yeah.
Did you know he's the uncle of Jason Sudeikis? Boom.
Now I
no idea. Didn't know that.
I didn't either. I had to do some deep dives because after Richard Mole, I have basically no trivia for the rest of the people in the movie.
Oh, good. I have a few.
Okay, good. So Richard Mole as Big Man, he famously Scary Movie 2, and his most iconic character ever, Dementor in Jingle All the Way, clearly where J.K. Rowling stole the nomenclature for her bullshit little Harry Potter thing, right?
Dude, she dogged that, and she dogged Troll, man. The original Troll.
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Richard Mole is also Esteban in Evil Speak, and that fucking movie's amazing.
And he's
also the angry fisherman or whatever the fuck he was supposed to be in Ghost Shark that lives in a fucking lighthouse.
He's also Death and King Midas in Dante's Inferno, which if you haven't played that game, fucking rips.
He's awesome.
So did anybody have
Richard
a nickname for him?
He for a second reminded me of a character from Night Court who I couldn't remember his name.
He is that character from Night Court.
He is. That's what I thought. I haven't seen Night Court in so fucking long.
I mean, I have a nickname for him, but it might not play to your audience. But he already had a nickname on Movie Dumpster,
which is drumroll
Gunnar Hansen, man.
Yeah, dude. He's a reincarnated version of Gunnar the White.
Okay, I'll take it.
If we need to explain that, we're sorry. You have to go listen to 80 episodes of Movie Dumpster to understand that reference.
This is like
listen to Movie Dumpster.
This is like trying to explain all the Marvel current continuity in one breath.
Hashtag shameless plug.
Yeah, it's like trying to watch like Batman vs Superman.
What the fuck's happening?
Here's 11 billion lore things you remember for the next 3 hours.
Who's a what? Okay.
What happened to his mustache?
He's basically just like Jesse Ventura from the fucking Predator.
Oh my God. That's very good.
Sexual Tyrannosaurus.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah.
I think Big Ben is, it just fits. It's perfect.
At some point, I thought he called him McBain. And I was like, you fucking kidding me? Because he said Big Ben, but I heard McBain.
I like that Big so Bane. Much better.
Yeah, so you just were to call McBain now.
I'm going to stick with McBain.
Yeah, that works.
Then the last person I wanted to talk about was James Calvert as the grocery boy. And he had a very limited acting resume, but I did see that he played Bag Boy in Remington Steele, so he's very obviously a character actor. That's it.
Oh, we also do get a cameo, and I didn't write down this guy's name, but you guys might know who I'm talking about.
I do.
The real estate agent is the fucking Mater D from the Sedgwick Hotel in Ghostbusters.
Sure is.
Oh shit,
I was referring to Officer Creighton Duke.
Yeah.
Well, him too, right.
Well, that dude's name is Michael Einstein as Chet Parker, and he's the Sedgwick Hotel guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cop 4 is
fucking Creighton Duke.
Stephen Williams. He's like, motherfucker, Jason Voorhees,
I've been
motherfucker.
hunting Jason Voorhees for 20 years, even though nobody's ever seen me or heard of me.
Come here, I'm going to break your fucking finger.
I should be Tommy Jarvis, but instead I'm a guy who likes fingers.
I'm hunting Jason Voorhees. Go away. What are you talking about?
Who are you hunting him with?
Speaking of Jason Voorhees, the stunt director for the film, Kane Hodder.
Yeah, dude.
Really?
Now, when I read that, I thought, I was like, oh shit, he's in the Big Ben outfit? But he just was the coordinator for everything.
Yeah.
And I read that he did it for the second film too, but I don't know to what capacity.
I mean, he handled the stunts. He's coordinated the stunts.
Basically, he took credit for people falling down.
Yeah.
Well, you know that guy, he falls down the stairs at least 2 or 3 times.
William Katt did his own fucking stunts for that.
Yeah.
When he falls down the fucking stairs.
He really did?
Yeah. He is proud of it. He's like, yeah, I that was me falling down those stairs.
Yeah, I almost killed myself.
Good luck replicating that hair with a stunt double, right?
Right? We also have Steve Susskind, who plays the dude from the beginning of Friday 3, the dude with the mustache that's like eating the fucking donuts and drinking the orange juice and shit.
The guy who sticks the clothespin pole right into the camera and looks directly into it. He's like, this is 3D, right?
Oh,
yep,
shit.
there we go.
How rad.
He's William Katt's like, I don't know, publisher. That's
Okay.
the guy. He's like, hey, Will, you're going to write that fucking book about Vietnam? That's stupid. Don't do that. I need a horror novel.
Awesome.
Bonus for that one, just real quick. He's the fucking guy who's giving CPR to the corpse in A Gnome Named Norm.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow. That's a movie I did not expect would be referenced on my show at any point.
I saw him and I was like, holy shit. Oh, man, that's him.
Awesome. So shall we get into just the review of the film as it goes?
Sure.
Perfect. One of my favorite things in the world is bad video effects. And when I was a kid, I used to make like pro wrestling music videos using Windows Movie Maker.
Oh, you
And
too.
Man.
this is what this opening is. It's like, oh, we're going to invert it and then we're going to change the colors and we're just going to shoot a picture of a house.
It reminded me of Tales from the Dark Side. And I was
Yes.
like, yeah, I'm fucking here for this.
Totally see it. So the credits, one thing I have to kind of give credit to, the saming and like the framing of the font when it's doing the credits is slightly to the right. And I had to double check my screen like multiple times to make sure like my video settings were correct. So it was convincingly disorienting. Did you guys feel that way?
I didn't notice that it was to the right,
Yeah, neither did I.
which is strange. I feel like I would notice something like that, especially being a graphic designer. But I love the way the titles come in. I don't know, the music cues and everything. It just feels good.
Yeah, it's tight.
I might have still been in a fugue state following Rise of Skywalker today, so maybe I just didn't pick up on it right away. It was,
The movie that could have been, right?
yeah, I won't do it. Let's move
I
on.
think plural, the movies.
Yeah, I honestly like people have talked so much shit about that movie. And I'm like, what do you do after the second one where there's just nothing?
It's the end of the trilogy in the middle.
Basically, there's nothing to, like Kylo Ren is now overly sympathetic and he's victimized by the fact that Rey is just indoctrinated. And so
Mhm.
she goes off to be in a fucking cult because, oh, bad guys are bad because reasons, though none of the politics are described, which I'm not complaining about because I've seen the fucking prequels and I don't need more space politics, but you get my point. And then the big bad is dead and the hero is dead. And she's just a girl who I'm supposed to agree with because she's diametrically opposed to the bad guy who, as aforementioned, is sympathetic. Right.
You got me, dude.
Cool.
I mean, there's nothing left to say, and I love The Last Jedi. So
So we'll move on because I could prove you wrong. I could change your brain about The Last Jedi because
nah.
it hurts
I'm
my soul.
So tired of talking about Star Wars.
Also,
and trying to convince people that that's shit.
I'm a Star Trek guy, so I don't have. You're never gonna get me. It's kind of like arguing with people with religion, where like, people like it always gets to the point where it's like, well, you just need to believe, like you just need the faith. And I'm like, but that's not objective reasoning, and it's the same thing when it comes to Star Wars fans. A lot of times, it's like, well, come on, didn't you feel like the mysticism of the Force? I'm like, no. There's one part of that whole butt fucking movie where I felt the Force, and it's a kid with a broom. That's it. Everything else is like
it's the worst. Fucking broom kid, go away.
Broom Kid's gonna show up in episode 10 with a lightsaber made of a broom handle.
I love
I
it.
have no Jedi training, and that doesn't fucking matter anymore because anybody can use the Force or whatever.
Yep. So the boy on a moped shows up, or Bag Boy, as he's known in Remington Steel, and he just goes into a house, and he's so eager to get out. He's like, "Oh, I'll collect my money later. Peace out. No worries. Bye." And then he's like, "Oh, well, I better go investigate nothing."
He's like, Miss, what's her name? Hopper? I forget what the fuck it is.
It's Hopper because it's supposed to be like Toby Hopper.
Toby Hooper?
Hooper.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hooper. Yes,
Yeah.
I guess it is Hooper.
I think, I think so. Because, there's a Craven on the fucking realty sign outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Little references.
He's just like walking around her house and he's like, all right, it's creepy in here. I'll go. Oh, wait a second. I think I hear something in your bedroom.
I hear an ominous knocking sound. What's that repetitive thud?
It's the fucking changeling, dude.
I couldn't tell if he was just a bad actor or if he was trying to play like he was slightly entranced. Could you guys with same issue? Nobody?
Maybe it's yes, and that's both.
Okay, cool.
I mean, unless there was something where like it was odd that she didn't greet him at the door, like unless there was another like an interaction that he would have with this woman, and that's why he goes to investigate. Otherwise, he's just like, yeah, okay, go into your room now.
Like I always do to fuck you for my tip.
Oh, dude, Granny Van Dam's up there.
Oh,
Right before she hung herself.
Yeah.
she
but you
hung
can't kill
herself
Granny
because
Van
he's
Dam.
not
She's
hung. Am I
unkillable.
right?
Oh, little boy, your dick's not up to snuff.
Oh, that's the most depressing thing I've ever seen.
I mean, honestly, he was walking in there already lubing up when he saw her body fucking hanging there from the rope.
Maybe she's just fine. That's how she starts.
Dude, erotic asphyxiation.
Dude,
Yeah.
in excess guy,
Oops.
right? David Carradine. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, that was a big oops on her part.
You just
It
forgot
wasn't the
to-
house.
She just forgot to dress up like Batman this time.
So then there's the funeral where the guy's like, oh, your aunt wasn't crazy. And so I guess we're just supposed to take the stranger's word as sacrosanct. And he makes a my wife joke, which is great.
He goes, your aunt's not crazy, but my wife, she's fucking crazy. Your aunt was a good woman.
And the greatest American hero is
see
like,
you later.
cool, I don't know who your wife is. So
I don't even know who you are,
Yeah.
mister.
I lack required context, sir. Would you please start over?
Why wasn't Norm at the funeral is what I want to know.
because he hates
Well,
her, he thinks that she's the C word.
Yeah. The big C for sure, yeah.
And then it cuts to the book signing, and we've already kind of gone over it. So then immediately there's the dream of Vietnam, where he sees his kid in Vietnam, which was a weird one. And then
I
the
like
zombie
that.
hand pops out. I like
Yeah.
it, but it's weird.
There's the tones in this movie are, I mean, they're consistently clashing.
Yes.
But I think it kind of works in its favor because you get effective comedy, but then you get this very palpable underlying like darkness that's going on. Because if you suck the comedy out of this and the fact that other people witness the stuff going in this house, you could easily play this up as some guy just losing his mind after coming back from the war.
Which is exactly what you want. That's why I feel kind of let down by the happy ending. Like nothing would make me happier than the idea of like, oh, it's the reveal, and he's basically just held Norm hostage, who is his unwilling accomplice.
Right.
Sure. I like how the scene just like, now that I'm thinking about it, eclipses the entire film because it's like, spoilers, he kills Big Ben, or he doesn't kill Big Ben. He Big Ben gets shot in Vietnam, and instead of like putting him out of his misery, the Kongs like grab him and like torture him for weeks. And then like this, I guess that's supposed to be his grave, and then his kid playing on his grave, and then the hand coming up because,
Right, because he's thinking about it because he blames himself.
Yeah.
As we find out.
Have you ever seen Rolling Thunder?
No.
It's okay. You don't have to have. It's not very good, but Tommy Lee Jones is in it. There's a guy who's held in a Vietnam camp, comes home from Vietnam, and he gets a silver dollar for every day he was held. And so these guys come to his house and they rape his kid and kill his wife and shove his hand in a garbage disposal to steal his silver dollars. It's pretty
Oh
good.
my
You just reminded me
God.
of it.
Whoa. That sounds fucking intense, dude.
It's
Yeah, I
super intense.
never saw it.
I watched
heard of
it
it.
because I was like, oh, Rob Van Dam does a move called the Rolling Thunder. I wonder if this is a fun jaunt. Nope.
Wait a second. Rob Van Dam's not in this movie.
Exactly.
Hey, man, there's a wooden roller coaster in Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey called Rolling Thunder. So, hey, the name goes around.
Right on.
That too.
That's probably where he got the name from. Much more likely.
I just also wanted to note in these Vietnam scenes, they also like they have this great part too where they turn to the left and there's these puppets playing Russian roulette. It's like a rabbit and some frogs or some shit.
Yeah, the fucking lizard man. He's got a gun to his head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then he becomes like a heroin addict on this variety show. It's really fucked up.
And you hear in the background somebody singing about sodomy.
Yeah. Yep. The Fox guy. Meet the Peoples, everybody.
No, I totally know what you're saying. I just don't know where to jump in. I'm a big Peter Jackson fan, so.
I haven't seen it yet because I'm waiting for us to do it on the show.
Oh man.
No
That's gonna be a
shit.
trip.
We should collab because we've been wanting to do it on our show since Bad Taste, but it's like one of those things where you kind of need to charge up interest because nobody downloads Peter Jackson stuff unless it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, fuck it. I just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do that, I'm down.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah.
A double fuck yeah.
I take your fuck
Puppets.
yeah and I fuck the yeah.
I triple dog fuck yeah. All right.
I did not
You
give you
can't triple
consent.
stamp a double stamp. No. Sorry.
No take back. No whatevers.
No take back or double take backsies, no erases. Stamp it
No
blue, make it
erases.
true.
That's what it was.
Did not give you consent to fuck my yeah, so I'm very upset about it.
Hashtag
It's-
you too.
Yikes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Awkward. Hey, Joe Biden, everybody. There he goes. It cuts to the aunt's house. And
I
like
just had a fucking brain aneurysm hearing that name. Still recovering from last week.
It sucks. That's the worst thing that's happened in this apocalypse, Mike. You guys fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
So you find out that the aunt is actually the one who raised the greatest American hero because the realtors walk. I love that he wastes this realtor's time so hard. He's like, "Oh, why don't you walk me through this house I've already been in? Why don't you continue talking to me after you've given me a diatribe about selling stuff and taken me to the back house and back? I will tell you I'm not selling the house and have wasted your hour."
He's like, because like Roger's like stupefied by the house. Like he's remembering everything like about the kid and shit. I think even in the middle of this, he has like a flashback to losing his son.
Well,
Like,
he's
right
like
in the
swimming
middle of
pool in
this.
the background.
Yeah. And fucking Sedgwick's hotel's just fucking going on. He's like, oh yeah, you can put a breakfast nook and a refrigerator and a fucking bunk bed in here. What do you think?
He's like, you see all this furniture? We can get rid of this shit. Just bring it to the dump. He's like, oh, it's my aunt's precious fucking stuff. He's like, huh, your aunt? Who's your aunt?
All these paintings, by the way, all over the house are like these crazy, like Dali-esque
Yes.
monstrosities painted by the very awesome William Stout.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I put in my notes. I put Dolly does Dallas ?
Love it, dude.
No idea. So
I love the painting motif in this, though. It kind of makes me think of like some of those old, Giallo films that had a lot of that stuff in there.
I could totally do
Yeah,
that. It's good, but it's also rushed. You know what I mean? Where it's like, this
Yeah,
could be
exactly.
a masterpiece if it wasn't made for the background of a scene where somebody's being choked with leather gloves.
Right.
How many fucking Giallo films do you have to see before you could just know the tropes, right?
Probably like 1, 2,
Precisely.
maybe.
Yeah.
Precisely 2.
So speaking of the artist of the paintings, she's like, oh, you better get out while you still can. And she hangs herself again and goes through the floor. I actually really like that effect. It's super hammy, but it reminds me so much of like the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah.
No, I love that bit. And at that point, you're like, okay, so Roger's like what? Unhinged? Like he's having his flashbacks and he's just having visions. You know what I mean? We're still playing into that, right? Like
Well,
it's
we
all
know
just
the
in
whole
his
thing
head.
with his son at this point because he,
Right.
like you were saying, he has that flashback about his son basically like disappears because he takes his eye off him for a second, and the last place he sees him is in the swimming pool.
Mhm.
And because of this, his life basically fell apart, and his wife left him because the kid's missing.
Yeah. It tricked me, Roger. The house had killed me. I killed myself. Get out while you can. Bye.
Totally.
This is how I became immortal.
Yeah, we went over the fact that he calls the FBI and the FBI tells him to stop calling the CIA about the disappearance of his kid.
Yes.
I don't know.
They like hold on him in that shot, and you could just see like the guy that played him is perfect, and he just is like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll stop doing that. Thank
He's
you.
super charismatic. Like it blows my mind he wasn't in a bunch more shit.
I was thinking the same thing.
He's fantastic in this film. I don't know. It just works, right? For this, I don't know.
Completely
Yeah.
agree. So he goes and then he meets Norm. We've already basically gone over their scene, and he talks
the
about how he
gnome.
wants to finish his book in quote solitude.
Basically, a nice way to tell this guy to go fuck off.
Yeah.
Please take your tattered ass book, go make some paper mache, get the fuck off my lawn.
Get your dog off my lawn.
You better pick up that shit.
He totally walked that dog on his
Oh, he sure did.
fucking Roger's property on purpose to take a shit.
Because he goes
he
up
didn't
the
have a
steps
bag.
behind the gate. So like there very clearly is a deliberate action. I agree.
Oh, dude, that was a fuck you to Aunt Elizabeth, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He hated that woman. She was dead. He's like, yeah, now you're going to fucking shit on her lawn.
Come out and yell at me now.
This is what happens when your fucking nephew doesn't sign my book.
You want some Chinese food or something? Or
I'm your biggest fan, but I have this fucking ripped up fucking version of the book. I don't have like a pristine copy, but I'm your biggest fan.
He keeps it in his back pocket, dude.
It reminded me of the Human Centipede where the guy takes the sandpaper to his ball sack. It reminded me, he just has these tattered pages. I'm like, I bet he's doing something inappropriate with that.
He's using it for toilet paper with the pandemic.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
very true. Couldn't make
Wiping
it over to
his ass.
Costco.
Yeah. I wish I had one of Roger Cobb's books when I was at that fucking gas station, dude.
Oh, no.
Referencing the
Oh,
story we told in
dear
our Shakes the
God.
Clown episode.
Shakes the
Check
clown.
that out. Joe had to use a gas station bathroom, and it was nasty to say the least.
I once was so disgusted by a restroom attached or affixed to a gas station that I went behind the gas station and shit in the bushes instead.
Oh my goodness.
Probably made the right decision.
That is a power move.
I wiped with my Spider-Man underpants and I was in my 20s and I left them there.
See,
So,
I'm not the only one. This bathroom didn't have the door on it though.
oh, no.
No, this was like right out in the open. So
Yeah, but he had the foliage, right? There was no chance somebody else was gonna walk in.
It's a very vivid chance that somebody could have found me because I did not get gas there. I had to shit. So I had like 3 coffees and Chipotle, and I had to shit
Oh
so
my
bad.
God.
And
Oh my
That is nuclear.
I'm on the freeway, and it gets to like a stop, and I'm like, I have no idea when I'm going to be able to get out of it. And so I sat to what would have been like a 15-minute drive was over an hour. And so I just had to pull over. And I look in the bathroom and it's disgusting. So I run out and I go to my car and I'm like, okay. And then I go, all right, well, I just have to fucking sell it. So I decide to act like I'm looking for a dog. And I'm like, here, boy. And I run around to the back, shit as fast as I fucking can, and come out the other side and go, I don't know where my dog is. And I get in my car and drive away.
Oh my
man.
God.
You put on a whole fucking play.
I did. I was Meryl Streep in it.
The thing you didn't realize though is like there was an attached Dunkin' Donuts and they go out there on their fucking break and smoke cigarettes. So they saw the whole thing.
I don't doubt it.
He doesn't even react. He comes back in and he goes, this is a guy outside taking a shit. Anyway.
Look at this guy. He's taking a shit in the bushes.
I regret nothing.
I don't even have words. When you put it that succinctly.
So he has another Vietnam flashback, and he gets pranked because Big Ben or McBain is keeping a live snake in his cigarette box for some reason. That's
like
weird.
he's just keeping it in there because he knows someone's going to ask for it eventually just to fuck with whoever.
Why he overreacts to this dude? It's like a little tiny like milk snake.
Well, I would argue in a normal circumstances, sure. But you're in the fucking middle of Vietnam. You don't know when you're going to be shot at any possible second. You're on edge, like beyond edge. You're already over the edge.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Like this little snake is not gonna phase me, right?
No, but shouting in the woods where enemies can hear you and shoot you probably would.
That too. You know.
Speaking of which,
fucking-
grenade.
Well, Mick Bain's a fucking moron because of this. Because it's just like, yeah, like you just said, grenade because he's shouting and giving fucking Roger a hard time.
Well, he's like a fucking big macho asshole too, because he's like, I don't give a fuck. Where's Charlie? I'm gonna shoot the shit out of him.
And then it cuts out, and he's watching his wife on her shitty soap opera, and he's typing, and he sees the ghost of his son out the window. Ugh.
Yeah,
he
like
turns him
Jody
off with
style.
turns him off with a fucking TV remote.
Her fucking soap opera sounds like the Calculon soap opera from Futurama. Like it's that deliberately shitty. Because like there's a line she has like, I don't care if you just divorced my sister, and he's like, it doesn't matter that I was once a male prostitute. I'm like, oh, this is Calculon.
So good.
You fucking beat me to that one.
So he goes and checks his aunt's room again and doesn't find anything, but then he goes back, and then a monster bursts out and rips his shirt. Dude, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Perfectly fine about it. Dude is svelte, because when he shows Norm his titties later and he has little scratch marks, I was like, I'd lick it. No big deal.
Yeah, man. That's why he's wearing that fucking deep V, man, so you can see that.
If I had that chest, I'd wear the deep V too. I'd wear a vest all day.
Also,
I would
by the
like to
way,
see the necrosis that is growing inside his fucking body.
Yeah. This only works to, like, these dimensions only open up at the stroke of midnight.
Oh, in Japan,
Within
this
the
movie's
house?
released as Don't Go in the Haunted House at Midnight, which is to try and distinguish it from the 1977 house film.
Really?
I
Yep.
wonder why that didn't stick.
It's just a sentence. It's not a title.
Why don't you just call it Midnight House?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah,
I
that'd
was
be
going to say
good.
Midnight Hour, but then they have that movie with Harry Belafonte's daughter, right?
Ooh,
Yeah.
fun fact about Harry Belafonte. The first time he did the Banana Boat song, it was on The Muppet Show with Animal.
That was the first time he did that?
Live, yeah.
Huh.
Big
Interesting.
fan. Big fan of both.
Yeah, man, sign me up.
That's what happens when
Love
you grow up watching
Belafonte.
Beetlejuice on repeat on a VHS tape. I think the 3 tapes I had when I was a kid were RoboCop, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Beetlejuice.
Man, is that the Kevin Costner one?
Yes, it's bad, but I love it.
It is a bit bad, but I also love it.
It's very, very not good. So there's the moving van that arrives, and it's got all of the equipment for videotaping, and he has it all lined up, and he takes a picture of nothing. And this is where, Norm starts to probe a little bit more because he's seeing the weird behaviors, and he actually swipes Roger's phone book and calls his wife, and he's like, "Hey, lady, you should totally save your ex-husband because he's crazy." And she's like, "Nah, I got work tomorrow." She's like,
Yeah.
he's like, he's having flashbacks and shit. He's dressed up like an army guy, taking pictures of nothing in his house. It's crazy.
and then she's like, "Alimony's pretty sweet. I better go save him."
For my missing child.
So while he's like talking to this woman, you could see like him being all giddy and shit because he's talking to one of his fucking idols. He's like, "Oh yeah, this is Norm, just Norm." She's like, "Okay, I don't know a Norm," and he's like, "Well, oh no, your husband's neighbor." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
Like,
He
he hasn't
says it so
mentioned me? How weird.
matter-of-factly. Yeah, he says it so matter-of-factly, like, "Yeah, I'm his neighbor. What do you mean? We're best friends. I just met him
You know
yesterday."
me. I'm from the Cheers bar down the road.
Where
Yeah,
everybody knows your name?
Yeah, man. And they're always glad you came, too, except Norm.
I think I've mentioned this on the show, but I'm going to run it by you guys. My dream sitcom would be if Sophia from Golden Girls and Coach from Cheers were like roommates.
Oh.
That's the best show you ever heard of?
I want it.
Yeah,
I'd
I'd
watch
want
the
to
shit out of that.
I mean, we did get B. Arthur on fucking Curb Your Enthusiasm. It was Larry David's mother.
B. Arthur is a fucking
I think she was
national
only in
treasure.
a flashback, but sure.
One of the funniest things I've ever seen, and I have no idea who tweeted this because it was in like on Reddit and they'd blocked out the username because they were just stealing ideas. But the guy's like, if you want any idea how old Betty White is, she was in a TV show about being old 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
God damn it.
It's I think she's cracking open some babies and sucking out some blood or something because she is just not changing.
Damn you, Hackman.
Can you imagine what it'd be like to be like 90 fucking 5?
No, I already hurt all over my body all the time.
But right. But like being alive that long to go through so many different changes of like pop culture and just like
changes.
that shit blows my mind, dude.
Yeah.
When I think of somebody who grew up without fucking television using a smartphone now.
Oh,
It's
right.
weird.
My grandma didn't have a fucking, she had a literal ice box where
Yeah.
it was literally like they'd ship ice and they'd put it in a box.
Yeah,
and
like
that
stuff
was
from like the Three Stooges that you just thought was a fucking like joke, but it was
Yeah.
like, no, this is what they did.
When you had to go to the movie theater to watch TV. Yeah.
crazy, right? And you
Yeah,
hear
I
people
saw
be like,
Roger Rabbit. I know how it works.
They had the news and the funnies.
don't you presume to lecture me about the newsies. I saw the newsies.
They're
Christian
gonna
Bale
build
was
that
there.
fucking highway soon, baby.
So Sandy calls Roger as he's having a flashback and he steps away and a little toy car rolls into the foyer. And then the Marlin on the wall is like, "Hey, I'm a Billy Big Mouth Bass and I'm really upset I'm on this fucking wall." So
Fucking beat me to that one, dude.
sorry. And
No,
then
you're good.
after the realtor almost shot him in the neck with a harpoon gun, he doesn't use the harpoon gun on the Marlin. No, he takes a
Right.
shotgun because that's naturally what you do.
I just like how he goes the effort of getting the double barrel, loading it, going back inside, and very patiently shooting this thing.
Yeah.
And what's
And
great
then
is,
throws like a fucking hand towel over it because the eye's still moving.
which is awesome.
This thing's screaming and flopping around, and he's just like, "Good night." Here, okay.
And this is the first like thing that you get where it's threatening to him besides the monster. Like I took this to be slightly distinct from the monster. Oh, also this movie was released somewhere else as Goblin. So I
Was it
forgot
that? I
that as
don't
well.
What?
Yeah,
That's
I think it's also a Japanese release. I think there was a thing on VHS where it was released as one versus the other. I'd have to double check. But the gardening tools attack him. And so that's like a physical manifestation of like the haunted house versus like an extra dimensional H.P. Lovecraft monster.
Right.
Yeah. Those fucking garden tools pay off in spades too, because
Right?
he ends up like locking them in a fucking bathroom or something.
That's a very funny pun. I
Mhm.
should have let that breathe. I'm sorry. Because the spade's a gardening tool.
Garden spade.
Yeah. I really lost my head over that joke.
Oh,
Thank you.
Wow.
Really big shoe. Really big. So this is where he ends up getting caught with the gun, and he shoots the Sandy monster, and then it's not Sandy monster, it's the Sandy. And then this is where you could tell he's a white dude, because if a black dude, and I say this with all love and respect in the world, was just holding a gun on a porch and cops showed up and he didn't immediately like fall into prone position weeping and with 50 cameras on him, he would just be shot and murdered. But this guy's holding the gun. He's like, what? You mean this gun? You want me to put this gun down, officer? And they're like, oh, I have infinite patience. Please, white man, put down your firearm.
He also
Pointing
very suspiciously jumps down to start wiping the shotgun nonchalantly. They pull up as if they didn't see him.
Right. It's broad fucking daylight. Of course they saw him, but he's a cracker, so it's fine.
And then Creighton
He's
Duke
also
actually
wearing
is
like that
bathroom.
Vietnam fucking fatigues, and I just was like thinking about Rambo, how that's what he had on. And he's just like walking around trying to get a fucking meal, and he just gets harassed to the point where he just destroys a town. This guy is just like, okay, you have a gun, you've fired it. You shouldn't really do that. We're not even going to write a citation or anything, but can we use your bathroom?
Yeah, because they're afraid to draw first blood. They know how that works out.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go.
They're like, are you Roger Cobb? The Roger Cobb? Yeah. Well, why didn't you say so? Here's your gun back.
Yeah.
We're not even going to take the bullets or anything.
I love when he's like,
you're clearly
you're the
unstable.
Roger Cobb? Well, can I shit in your house?
Yeah. Creighton Duke takes a shit in Roger Cobb's house.
It's during that shit where he ponders his career choice, and that's when he decides he's going to go hunt Jason Voorhees.
That's right. There you go. The house was talking to him, dude. It's like, grow a mustache, go hunt Jason Voorhees.
You should really get into breaking people's fingers for information.
He puts the Sandy monster under the stairs with Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Just P.S.
Yeah, he's in there with his fucking bed. Like, oh man,
oh, you put the dead lady on me. Just real quick, the effects in this are amazing. And they were all headed by James Cummins, who directed The Boneyard that we did. Yeah, and the witch and the war monster that we were talking about before that comes out of the closet. I mean, all of this stuff is all practical, and it's just fucking bitchin', and basically was made in James Cummins' backyard over like 4 months.
Hell yeah.
It's just really, really, really cool shit. I just want to talk about for a second.
I love the poster for the film. One of them that I saw, it actually has the scene because he buries the wife in pieces in the backyard because all the stuff is still moving when he's having the conversation with his neighbor who's smoking hot and in his pool, and totally missed opportunity there. But there's a picture with the dog.
Yeah.
Where the dog has the hand in the mouth. And I was like, oh, yo, Jimbo, that's fucking awesome. And then I realized I was alone watching the movie and I shouldn't have spoken out loud.
Well, this movie does like a great job of like riding that comedy horror line, especially with like the witch monster, because she's like that very grotesque, like almost like comedic looking witch. I guess you kind of have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
But even though that's like played up for comedy to a point, because it's like it grabs the rifle and goes after him at one point, the main character's still taking this super seriously. Like he's not in on the joke, and I think that's why it works so well.
I agree.
I was laughing because it sounds like that little cherub from House of the Dead 2 that goes like, "Suffer like he did."
Yeah. In fact, he shows up a little bit later.
Yeah.
She actually reminds me of Butterball, the Cenobite from Hellraiser.
Yes.
Oh, kind of, yeah. They're fucking, these things are creepy. All of these creatures have like exaggerated features.
Yeah.
And they're very disturbing. And we'll get to some later that are the fucking creepiest part of the movie for me and always have been.
Awesome. Well, let's get to it. So this is where the smoking hot neighbor brings over her kid, and he just takes the kid into the restroom, and she's just fine with that. And then she's like, hey, guy who just took my kid into the restroom completely unannounced and is acting fucking fidgety, take the kid for the day.
I've seen this movie probably 5 or 6 times. And I always forget about this little fucking kid, Robert, with the big ass ears and the bad haircut.
That's Steve Miner's kid, dude.
His haircut is horrifying.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Steve, what the fuck were you doing?
What were you doing to that fucking child? He has this rat ass mullet where like the front half of his head is like his bangs are trimmed all the way to his hairline and the back is like just dangling. I'm like, what are they doing to you?
This kid's got a hardcore alfalfa fucking pointing up.
Yeah, I even put a note about the mullet. Like, I have to acknowledge it. I say, kid has sick ass mullet and bangs combo. When you're, let's say he's Joe Exotic in the back and Lloyd Christmas in the front.
That's fucking perfect, dude.
So then he has another flashback while kid's asleep and Big Ben is shot down and blah, blah, blah. The mom takes the kid, blah, blah. Oh, no, this is where they go up the chimney to be with St. Nick.
Dude. Oh, my fucking God. This always freaked me out as a kid, and it still freaks me out now. There's something about getting that glimpse. Okay, so first of all, these things are like these goblin fucking things with these big giant mouths and eyes. It's all exaggerated and gross.
Like my ex-wife, please take her. Sorry, hey. No fucking idea where that came from.
I don't know, man. Rodney comes in and he's fucking doing his thing, pulling out his collar and shit.
Dude, okay, as a kid, I always thought it was so quaint, the idea of like not getting respect, and then I became a dad, and I'm like, oh shit, he's just speaking. He's not even making jokes. This is just what life is now.
Yep.
So you were saying about the goblins who look like my ex-wife, please. Oh, God.
I don't know, dude. There's something about like just catching a glimpse of these things because Roger runs up the stairs and catches them just as you like see them just for a second as they're pulling the kid into this room and then closing the door. And then he runs to the door and opens it up and you see them just as they're pulling him up the fucking chimney.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Creepy as fuck.
It's effective because it's a less is more approach.
Yeah, totally.
They don't belabor it. They don't give you the full body shot. It's all in action. That's one thing that really frustrates me with a lot of practical effects is that people like need to pat themselves on the back and be like, no, look at it. It's a giant marionette. It's 17 feet. And you're just like, no. What do I need to see? We need the framing. We need the negative space. We need those elements. And yeah, it's a fun scene. It's also like as a kid, to see a kid in peril is way different.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah,
especially like you kind of get that connection between him and this little kid where he's clearly thinking of his kid as he's trying to save it.
Yeah.
And then he bathes it and he gives it back to the mother and he's like, yep, everything went okay. Slept like a baby.
Like you call it, he bathes it like it's fucking animal.
Well, he's not talking about the kid. He's talking about the mullet, obviously.
Yeah.
The animal on his head.
The mullet is alive. The body's just a maintenance unit.
But then the kid really doesn't even acknowledge that this shit happens, which I think is great because it's like even this innocent, naive child who has like, obviously when he tries to show Norm is very cynical and he's like, no, there's no such thing as monsters. But here's a kid who has all of like the imagination in the world. So it's like, if monsters exist, that's the kid who's going to believe it. And even the kid never acknowledges it and just like, okay, I'm just going to go home with my abusive mother.
Like they took you up a chimney and like they should have technically, they like pick the kid up and then William Cat's like trying to pull him down and they lift William Cat up with the kid. Like this kid's getting ripped in fucking half.
Oh, yeah. Shoulders are destroyed for life.
Real quick, fun fact. Jerry Marin plays one of these ghoulies or they're called little critters. And that's the midget that I was talking about from The Being who plays The Being, who was also one of the Lollipop Guild.
We represent
but legally distinct from the Lollipop Guild.
Yeah. And the other guy plays a fucking Emperor Penguin in Batman Returns, Felix Silla.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, they get around.
They sure do.
So we'll move on. They do the thing at the 12 o'clock. Norm is there. They do the picture thing. He tells Norm, oh, it's just some raccoons, but we have to kill the raccoons at midnight, not a second sooner. And he's like, okay, I'll accept this because I've never even seen a raccoon in a house. And there's the monster, and it whisks Roger away into nowhere. He comes back from nowhere, coddles Norm, and then goes back to nowhere through a window, which I was like, this is weird, but I'll go with it.
Yeah, he has a revelation about the painting, the unfinished painting that his aunt was doing. He's like, oh, the fucking medicine cabinet. That's where my son is. Here I go.
Which reminded me of Toxic Avenger 3 for all the wrong reasons.
I don't remember the Toxic Avenger 3 at all.
He has a flashback to when he was a normal kid, which is not played by the same guy who played him in the original, even though that guy would come back to reprise the role later, and he's in his leotard, unitard, whatever, and he's got the polka dots, and he starts heckling himself. It's not a good scene. Don't see that movie.
Is 3 the one where he starts, like, he becomes an insurance salesman because his superheroing isn't paying enough?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I remember.
That's the one. It was shot in tandem with 2, which was in Japan, and then I think that when he comes back, it's just padded with stuff like that. And then you get to 4, which is ableist as fuck and super hard to watch.
Yeah,
but I
That's
still
when
think 3 is
twin
worse.
or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. 2, I think he teams up with Kabuki Man, doesn't he?
Which is awesome. Kabuki Man fucking rules.
And then Lizard Guy is the third one, right?
Yes. Yes.
Or Dragon Guy, whatever the fuck.
I'm going to say yes with an asterisk and reserve the right to amend that at a later time.
Just say yes question mark like we do.
So he's descending from the rope and he rescues his son from a cage, and then the zombie Big Ben appears. And I love this design. He looks just like Eddie the Head from Iron Maiden. It's fucking rad.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And he
really
also
cool.
sounds like Clancy Brown.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's Richard Mull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's a voiceover. Also, at some points when they do a close up on his face and he opens his mouth, you can see his regular human teeth behind his zombie teeth.
Well, and you could see his black lipstick lips behind it too, which is a super creepy effect when it glints in the sun in the sunshine. No, in the lights.
It's not as creepy as when like Donatello opens his mouth and you see a small man in there, but it's still
it's more like Rawhead, you know, how he's got that little mouth in there.
Hell yeah. And so you got to love a scene where a guy's being stalked and the guy's saying, "Why didn't you kill me, Roger?" Which is like, that's odd.
Yeah.
Well, he honestly should have, man. Like, he chickened out because this poor bastard got tortured for weeks because he couldn't put a fucking blade in between this guy's chest.
The whole catharsis of it is like Ben takes his child because he didn't kill him in Nam when he was mortally wounded and then was tortured by the Viet Cong.
Yeah, and it seems that the kid has, like, from all accounts, he's the same age and everything. So this equates to a bad dream. It's not like he lost any life. It's not like he was physically tortured. It's just like, oh, I'm fine now. So it's like you just gave a kid a bad dream for a couple of years.
Right. It's like I mean, I know this movie was made way fucking after, but like Insidious.
Okay.
Like when that kid was like in that other dimension, like he was legitimately there for like months or whatever it was, and he was like pretty fucked up when Patrick Wilson went in there and saved him.
Yeah, I was gonna say because maybe he just stays the same age because it's like the pocket dimension.
Maybe, and
But
it's
he's still
also
gotta
like kind
keep
of like
shit, right?
Well, it's also like that kind of thing where it's like, I guess the implication is that like obviously the house is haunted, but it preys off of your worst fears, and all of Roger's worst fears are like his time at war and his ex-wife and losing his kid.
So what was his kid's worst fear? Because
I think it was just to fuck with Roger because he was the main character.
Right. But that's Roger's fear is like, oh, it's supposed to be a reflection of Big Ben, like in the cage.
His kid is afraid of bamboo, so he was surrounded by
Oh, man. I mean, I guess you could just write it off as...
I could squeeze between these bars, but it's just so fucking terrifying.
You could just write it off.
Like that scene from Hot Shots 2 where he gets all the way out of the cage to get the keys, then goes back in and unlocks the door.
Oh, so good.
I guess they just write it off because it's like, you know, supernatural haunted house or whatever, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, that probably could be a plot hole, but I think it like... The film doesn't work without his kid being missing.
Right. But it's one of those things where like the kid could have been there for like a day or like an hour. Like we don't know.
No,
you know what I mean?
And that's one of the things like there are times where I like vague lore. This just feels unfinished. You know what I mean?
Sure, I get you.
I don't feel like this was designed to like make us wonder. I feel like it was just like, who gives a fuck? The kid's alive. Let's move on.
I feel like an exec was like, well, the fucking kid's going to be alive at the end, right? Right?
I just imagine some like very small angry man like a Spacely Sprocket with a cigar being like, you're over budget. I don't give a fuck. The kid's alive. We're done.
I love how across 3 different podcasts, 3 people have come up with the same cigar
and another friend of ours, CB Smith on YouTube, also had that same character.
Everyone has the same mental image of the same executive. It's hysterical to me.
Yeah, man. It's like Satan in all different cultures.
Oh, there you go. Horny bastard. So then he basically tricks Ben into falling off of a cliff from his porch. And then the house is on fire. And then he goes outside and his ex-wife pulls up in a taxi and she's like, hey, my son's alive. And I guess I'm going to fall in love with my husband again. And it ends on his face smiling with Roger.
Oh, it freeze frames. It's just like, fuck you. Here's your credits.
Yeah, I was like, as I was watching, I was like, I must have forgotten because I was like, he has to fucking kill himself or like he's in an asylum or something. But nope, it's just the end. I even stayed till the end of the credits like, did I remember this wrong? Because I feel like the real ending has to be dour and awful.
Not so wrapped up with a bow, right?
Exactly. It's way too quaint because it's like we said, it's simple. Like all like the probing issues. Like, okay, but is he going to get back with his wife? Is he going to finish his book? Where's he going to live with the house burned down? Are they going to investigate him for arson? Like all those things. You're just like,
did he get the insurance and all that camera equipment? That was probably like 20 G's.
Dude, right? That's all the advance for his book that he's going to have to pay back.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I kind of thought if he was going to kill himself, it would have been the standoff against Ben because that was his ultimatum. Is like, I want you to kill yourself. And like a logical outcome to the story would have been he would shoot himself for his son. But then like if you really wanted to go a little harder with it, like there was no son, there was no Ben, like he just lost his fucking mind in his house.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's do that. Let's reshoot it.
Yeah.
All right. Connor wins the day.
It's also not really Big Ben. It's the house.
Yeah.
Well, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's not actually Big Ben like, hey, I took your kid. It's the house that took the kid, and it's like filling in the blanks with what he's scared of. You know what I mean?
I also think if they didn't have the comedy elements, if it was just a straight horror film, maybe you do get that dark ending where the kid's not there or it's just the kid was kidnapped or whatever. Because they do kind of hint at the idea that could have happened when he first is looking for the kid and a car like peels off. But that's just kind of like a red herring for the scene. It doesn't go anywhere.
I actually really like that they did that. There's like different things that could have happened to the kid.
No, I agree.
I also think the ending I just pitched probably would test horribly for the time. And
for the time, people would be like, I'm sorry, that's a child. That child can't be harmed in any fashion.
But like, why didn't they just blow up the house and then like Roger and the kid like fly out the front door, big explosion, and then like he like looks down and he looks up at the house and then looks back at the kid and like kisses him on the forehead or whatever, and then it's over. You know what I mean?
Like Uncle Sam, and then you go into the backyard and you watch the kid burn all his fucking army toys.
Or what I would like, let me pitch this because he's gonna die. I don't know why I became Italian. That he's gonna die.
He's gonna die.
And the kid saves him, but in doing so, you find out he's tethered to the house. So when the house burns down, while he gets to see his son, the son dies with the house.
Yeah, I like that.
The kid that's lit on fire in his arms.
Ooh, in your arms tonight.
Yeah. Burns into ashes, and then he just fucking falls to his knees and screams.
I just burn in your arms tonight.
Yeah.
The wife gets there right as that's happening. You killed him again.
Oh, yeah.
You son of a bitch. I'm going to divorce you twice.
Fucking Norm just drops dead right there. Heart attack. He can't handle it. Everything he's seeing is too much.
Clutching a fucking 6-pack of Miller Bud Dry.
And then Sam Malone goes out of business at Cheers because his most loyal customers. Did you know Ted Danson, Reel Perlman, and Norm, the only people to appear in all 297 episodes of Cheers?
Wow.
Big fan of that show. For a straight edge guy,
Woody
it's really
Harrelson
weird.
was smart. He got out early.
Man, the dominoes really fell after that fucking house went up, didn't it?
Yeah. So on our show, we do classic, tragic, or tragic. Classic being a good movie, a tragic being a good, bad movie, and a tragic being just an outright bad movie. How would you guys rate House?
I guess classic. Like I didn't really, aside from like the tonal discussions we've had about it, I don't think it hurts the experience. It does kind of make you scratch your head at the ending, but like this movie's pretty good. And having been this like my first real sit down with it, I was thoroughly enjoyed the whole thing. I thought some of the comedic bits were very funny, and all the horror stuff is pretty freaky to look at. And I kind of like the whole spatial paradox thing going on between, behind closed doors, and how this house is not really haunted, but more like a gateway to just other weird shit that kind of comes and goes. Yeah, I loved it. I think it's a worthy of classic.
Yeah, I would definitely say this is a classic. This is probably in my top 20 films of all time. Everything just hits really sweet for me with this movie. I mean, it's a fucking powerhouse as far as like you got Steve Miner directing, you got the story by Fred Decker, you got Sean Cunningham producing, you got fucking James Cummins doing the effects, you got Harry Manfredini doing the score. Everything just meshes so well together. William Katt's great, Richard Mull's great, George Wendt's great. It mixes perfectly the scares and the laughs. And I don't know, it's just this weird movie that just hits all the fucking notes I'm looking for. So yeah, classic for sure.
I mean, I would agree with that. It's a classic, and I don't know what you're going to say, Jake, but I can't really add too much more than that. I mean, I like this film a lot. I've seen it a bunch of times, which I didn't mention already. It's kind of one of those movies. I don't know if it's in my top 20 films, but it's definitely like one of my favorite horror comedies. And I probably pop this on maybe once a year, get a little refresher, because I like the whole Vietnam angle, because I personally haven't seen that too often in a horror movie, and it's kind of like a weird, not really deeply explored subject matter in the context of a paranormal film that also has like a funny side. So yeah, classic.
Yeah, I think that for me it's very easily a classic in a lot of ways. There's a lot of justifying elements to it, and I think like the tonal issues, I give it a pass on this. I was listening to a Q&A that actually last month's Patreon bonus was April Fool's Day, and there was a Q&A and they were talking about, I think it's Amy Steele, who was like, yeah, but the thing is, you go home happy because none of it was real. So you get the best of both worlds, where you get like the gore and the horror, but then you get to leave with like a cleansed palate because it was all foolsies, no realsies. And in this, it's like, it's kind of the same thing where you get the stuff, but maybe it's a little oversaturated in my mind in that capacity, because I think that's my big issue with the tonal element is, I had just seen another movie where it's like, oh, everything works out remarkably well, but that's my only gripe. I think that everything else is awesome. And quite frankly, I think that the character effects are great. Every character is likable, and the only character who's not likable is not meant to be likable, which is the neighbor lady. And so it's pretty rare for me to find a movie where I'm not rooting for people to die the entire time.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So with that being said, gentlemen, would you please peddle your wares and make sure our fans know how and where to find you?
You want to go for it, Sean?
Yeah, I'll go first. So obviously, you can, like we said earlier, you can find Movie Dumpster pretty much anywhere that you get your podcasts, and we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Pretty much, what are we always at? At Movie Dumpster or at Movie Dumpster Podcast, typically.
We're at Movie Dumpster, yeah, on all three of those.
And me personally, it's just my name backwards. You can usually find me at O'Rourke J. Sean. And I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram.
So not Ecroaronace.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know how it's read, but now that you put that out there to me, yeah, that's a little okay. I might have to rethink that one.
Yeah, I'm just at Joel Escola on Twitter, so you can do that. Easy peas.
They didn't have my name forward, so that was my next logical step, was just to put it in reverse.
We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Android. What else? Podbean. Pretty much, yeah, like Sean said, wherever you get your podcast, you can find us. And then we also do have a website, moviedumpsterpodcast.com.
Perfect. With that being said, I would like to thank you guys very much for coming onto our show. And I have to say, I'm very excited to come peddle my wares on your show when we review House 2, the second story.
This is really cool. And we can't wait to have you guys on for House 2.
Yeah, be ready to try to comprehend the madness that is MDU references.
Awesome.
Yeah, you got a taste of it today.
Hell yeah. I was gargling with it. It was very potent and kind of squirmy. With that being said, my name is Jake, reminding you to go out there and do something you love. And remember that all work and no power play makes Jack a dull boy.